Well, actually, funny thing is all the vocals on our EP was recorded on an iPhone. Her vocals were. So
Yeah.
Not in a studio on an iPhone.
yeah. She because I mean our writing process has changed a lot, or even recording process. But when we started out, I mean, I think you were a little uncomfortable, Ashley, kind of like recording vocals, you know, in a studio because it's a different thing. Like, you know, when you're sitting there with headphones on and you're singing into a mic, it just sounds weird. And so the way we recorded the first EP was she would come up with her ideas and for vocal melodies and lyrics, and then she would record it on the voice memos on her iPhone, and then email them to me, and then I just took them and wrote or put music under it, basically. So it's, I mean, all the stuff on the EPs recorded on iPhone. So
wow.
Now I have a little fancy mic that I plug into my iPhone, big time. But yeah, that is crazy.
It is super crazy.
Everything is.
I didn't even think about that now until we were talking about that.
How technology, Imagine 10 years ago, no one would have thought that would have been possible at all.
Oh, it would have been, completely impossible.
That's crazy. You did the whole EP, or at least the vocals for the EP on a phone. Gosh.
And it was a different writing process too. I think that's what kind of made it interesting and fun, was doing it that way. And now, I mean, this has been a year since we started doing those songs, I think. And now, like, we've changed our, now we write with each other. We sit down and write, and like I'll have a guitar. But yeah, before that, I mean, that just was a completely different process that we took. But yeah, it's kind of evolving, and now we're kind of including like the guys that play in our band, like we're trying to do stuff more as a band, like writing that way too, and so it's kind of evolving even more like that. But yeah, that's because I think when we started doing it that way with the iPhone recordings, like I said earlier, the idea wasn't to have this like big musical project. It was like, well, let's just do something to get it out and, just release it. So I think there's less pressure to like do, now if we were to do it again, I think it would be a little bit more inclined to like professionally record the vocals or something, because now you're like, well, maybe more people are going to hear it, so let's do it that way. But at the time, it was just kind of like, well, let's just put it out. It's going to be something our friends and our family listen to, so who cares if it sounds, that great? They're not going to notice.
I don't know, man. I think it sounds really good, especially now that you told me that little bit. Holy shit! You step up my recording game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things too where you wouldn't notice it unless you told somebody. I mean, I've heard stories like, what's that, the Foster the People's song, the Pumped Up Kicks? I mean, that was like a demo he did. Like, it was I think I don't want to say this because I don't know if it's true, but I think it was something like recorded on a phone or something. Like, it was like and they took it and put it in the studio and just like put a couple of instruments on it, but you don't notice that stuff unless somebody says it to you.
Right.
So it kind of just boils down to, if it sounds good when you do it, there's no point in like going and redoing it, And her vocals sounded good when she sent them to me. I didn't have to like really mess with them or anything. I was able to kind of find the tempo of it, and then I had to kind of chop them up a little bit here and there just to make it fit the, verses. But, I mean, it sounded good the way it was, put like a little bit of reverb on it. And yeah, that's all we did.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. And the drums are the only thing that we did in the studio, I think.
Yeah, everything else was at home. We did them ourselves.
With it was just the iPhone, and then all the guitars were recorded like I have this little like Vox practice amp that's like probably 12 inches long that for some reason sounds good when you put like this certain reverb pedal in front of it. It doesn't sound good otherwise, but if you like use this one, it just sounds like good. And then you have to use a specific mic too. It's like this weird thing, but yeah, for some reason it sounds good, and so we just do it that way, and it's super easy. And
nice. So with the backing band now giving some of their input, is it changing the sound? Is it modifying it from, since you two originally wrote the EP, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. We haven't really done a whole lot with the band. I mean, the band's changed the sound, I think, a little bit live for some of the other songs. I mean, some of them we play live and I feel like they sound exactly like the recording, and then some of them, I think with having a different drummer and a live drummer, that probably changes the feel of it a little bit. But I don't know. I don't really think so. I mean, a lot of it starts with us still. So even these new songs that we're doing, it's pretty well established going into it. So I think that input that they give us is more of just filling out their individual parts maybe at this point. But like I said, we don't really know how it's going to happen in the future too. So like it's just kind of evolving still.
Yeah, I think with the songs that we've started now, we're definitely staying true to kind of the mood of what we did originally. Yeah. It's definitely still dark, eerie sounding music, lyrically also. But I think some of it is starting to sound a little heavier, like a little more rock, especially when we're playing live.
Yeah, because it's, with the recordings, they were made to sound like recordings from the eras of the music that we were trying to imitate at the time.
Right.
So, I think when we went in and did some of these songs, so our drummer Ryan, he had played on a couple of the tracks on our EP. And even he was, we kind of talked about, well, back in the 60s when they would have recorded this, this is how they would have had the microphone set up. So we try to imitate the microphone setups, and he actually switched his style of playing to the more traditional style, like grip of playing, just to kind of imitate that style. Now, when we play it live, it's different. It's more, I think, of a modern sound, probably. But we in the recording process, it was more of trying to stick pretty true to what we were trying to imitate. But yeah, I think with incorporating these guys now in the writing process, they're pretty tied to our idea and kind of vision of what we were trying to do, I think.
Yeah.
So, and they were pretty adamant. I mean, we asked them to do this, but a lot of it was when we played them the demos before we released the EP, they were really into it, and they had these kind of, they would kind of relay to us their ideas. Well, this sounds like you're kind of trying to mix a 50s doo-wop tune with like 80s horror aesthetic, and so we're like, well, that I didn't have to say that to you, you got it.
Right.
So I feel like they're kind of pretty much on the same page, and they want to kind of be on the same page, and
Yeah, that's what's been great is they were all so into it and understood, the vision of what we were trying to do, and were completely into it. So everything just came really naturally and easily, which isn't always the case.
Yeah, very rarely the case.
Yeah. They're just like, man, this is so cool. What if I did this right here? And we're like, that would be awesome. Let's do it. So that's kind of how it's all been, thankfully.
Yeah, and well, I mean, it's not like we're trying, we're very open to other people's ideas.
Oh, absolutely.
Too,
yeah.
And I mean, I think that so far the way it's worked out is that, we have this idea, and the initial idea stays true, but any input that goes into it is what molds it into what it is. So, we keep our minds open to all that. And I mean, even with the music video or music videos that we've done, and some of the songs that we've been writing, I mean, what kind of gives it its character is the input of other people that have been helping along the way. But the original concept is still pretty true to what we kind of go into it, the idea that we go into it with. So
that must have been really rewarding and refreshing when you showed them the tracks and they immediately saw and heard the same thing you guys were going after.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it was surprising. I mean, that's definitely something that I don't, because sometimes, I mean, like I say, years have been playing music, you play tracks for different people, and they'll say something, well, this kind of sounds like this, and you're kind of like, what?
Really?
I don't know where you're getting that from, but I guess so far, I mean, people seem like they kind of get I mean, maybe it's just obvious in the way it sounds, but yeah, they seem like they kind of latch on to the what we're going for, so that's awesome for sure. Yeah.
Were you guys influenced by Late Night Callers at all?
No. I played a show with Late Night Callers years ago, but maybe inadvertently influenced.
Yeah, because when I heard your guys' stuff, that was what I immediately went to.
Okay,
because they kind of have that noir sound, I guess, to kind of not really generalize them, but yeah, that was kind of, I was like, because I'm a huge fan of them, and I heard you guys, I was like, oh, this is awesome, because they just stopped playing, right?
Well, this was because I know they used to play a lot.
Yeah,
I haven't seen them around for a while, so I didn't know if they were still doing things.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're broken up. So it's cool. You guys are kind of taking the torch, running with it.
Yeah,
in a sense. But But yeah, tell me about Truest Blue. So did the idea, the concept for the music video happen, or did the song happen first, or was it at the same time?
I think the song came first.
Yeah, it was a song I wrote the lyrics to, and I had sang like a little demo on my phone and sent it to him, and he was like, "This is really cool." And then he put music behind it, and yeah, it just took shape, and then we started coming up with ideas for the video. Like, I've always been a huge fan of doo-wop, so I don't know, that's what influenced me to write it. And
what was that movie that we kept referencing to that like, was it it's in the 90s, I think, that about the prom, the girl who dies in the car accident?
oh yeah, was it Susie Q? It was like a teeny bopper movie about a girl who dies in a car wreck on her way to prom, and we're like, man, we could take that but put like a horror spin on it.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, because I mean, I felt like too in the 80s, because obviously, if you watch the video, it kind of has an 80s like vibe to it, but with like a lot of the synth parts and stuff that kind of play into the song. But I feel like in the 80s they had kind of a weird obsession with like 50s culture. Like, there was a lot of movies that came out in the 80s where they would like reference 50s culture but kind of bastardize it in a way and make it
true.
And like add kind of a horror element to it.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, like Back to the Future was a movie that, like, you know, like played big into the like that vibe, and then there's a lot of horror movies that did the same thing too. So yeah, we just kind of wanted to do something like that. I mean, because I've always kind of liked movies like that, so you know, we just thought, wait, we could probably do this, and it definitely was a lot more work than we expected it to be. But
I was gonna say, talk to me about that, because that music video is amazing. Like the way you fly through the window, and then you have like the holograms playing at the end.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, I think when we first started shooting it, I don't know if we had the full video in mind, like what we were doing. So we kind of like had sort of half of the story to the point where you died, and I don't know what in the video. And I think beyond that, we were kind of like, well, we don't know what we'll do. We'll figure it out later. And then,
Yeah, it was several. The shoots took.
It was a lot
like
of shoots.
Yeah, over a month. And like one day we fortunately had a guy let us use his vintage car, and we were like, we won't leave your driveway, we promise. So we shot all the car stuff there, and we had to just do take after take after take to make sure, because we only had that one day with the car. So if we didn't get it all done, we were kind of screwed. And then, the hardest part was probably doing the makeup and trying to make it look the same every time. Took a lot of work.
Yeah, we've learned a lot about like filmmaking,
movie makeup,
going into it.
Yeah.
Wait, so you guys went into that just knowing just like a little bit about filmmaking?
Yeah. I mean, that was that was kind of our. I mean, I've kind of messed with like video effects and stuff, like After Effects, and for a while, but nothing serious. Really, that and the clinic video were the two like first like videos that we were like really like were pushing to do something, because before that, like, you know, it was just like kind of messing around here and there. I don't think that we really had I didn't have a whole lot of experience doing it. I've always liked that kind of stuff, but I didn't really have a whole lot of experience doing it.
I've always been interested in like set design and movie makeup and stuff, but I mean, I'd never done anything at a professional capacity or anything. So it was kind of fun toying around with everything and figuring out like how to make the scars on our faces. And I think one night at like 3 a.m, we wanted to make fake glass, so we get online and we look up how to make fake glass, and we're in our kitchen doing it. And
we're drunk, by the way.
Yeah, we're usually drunk when we're doing all this. Just a little side note.
We looked up, because I remember I remember watching documentaries about when they made movies. You could make like sugar glass,
right?
So it was you could, and I was like, well, I'm sure we could find the recipe online. And so like we looked up and like tried to make. I don't remember what went into it, but we tried to make it, and you have to like bake it, and it wasn't working. So then we went and found a picture or poster frame, and took the poster out of it and like smashed the glass and just threw it on the ground.
Yeah, because the whole idea behind making the fake glass is it was a scene where me and John Anthony, who played the male lead in it, it was when we had flown out of the car and we're like on the ground with shattered glass. We're like, we don't want to get cut up, so
Right.
let's make fake glass. Well, then we ended up just throwing glass
Like
and
real glass.
like laying
Be
across
careful.
it. And just like, all right, we give up.
Yeah, and our neighbor came out too. She was not happy.
We got in a little trouble.
Because we're like, there's all this, and because we think we had like a fog machine going. It was out in our driveway, and we had like our lights, and I didn't realize it was like 3 a.m. either. It's just one of those things you lose track of time. And we had lights and like fog machines going, and like we're breaking glass, and like she's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I'm, in this huge vintage dress, and I have, death makeup
Right.
on, and it's just like, what's going on?
And we're going all Pollock with like fake blood too. Like, we had this
He's
thing,
out there with the paintbrush just
like,
splattering
splattering
us.
blood everywhere, and yeah, it was a weird sight for sure. I'm sure it was. Yeah, but that's what's kind of cool about it. Like, I mean, this is we've done 3 videos now, including the clinic video, and we're still learning about it, and that's what's kind of fun about it. It's the approach that we take is kind of that same approach that when you're kids and you're trying to make like videos with your friends, like get your
Right.
like parents' camcorder. And I think we're kind of taking the same approach. Like, we're not necessarily trying to make it look, super realistic or professional, but we're just trying to make it like kind of fun and different.
Make our
and,
ideas happen
Yeah.
however we can.
Yeah,
We'll get
exactly.
them done.
And then the second video we shot, Kill What You Love, that was a completely different experience. I mean, we shot everything in one day and got it edited in like a week, and it was just a whole different type of approach that we took to it. So
That one's kind of like a short story, right?
yeah, that was
Yeah.
a little bit of a short film.
Yeah, it actually made it into the middle of the map short film viewing, which was really cool.
Yeah, well, that's how we got into the middle of the map in the first place. Is Nathan from the Record Machine? I sent him because we were wanting to put it in like a film festival or
Sure.
something, and we didn't know of anything, and that was coming up. I saw him post they had an open submission for films for the middle of the map, and so I Facebooked him and was like, "Hey, like I want to submit this," and he goes, "Oh yeah." He's like, "Well, would your band want to play it too?" And I was like, I didn't tell him at the time. I was like, "We don't have a band," but yeah, we'll play it. That's fine. And then I told Ashley, and she started freaking out. She's like, "Oh God!" Well, we had 3 months to prepare, so it was like. She's like,
I'm like, okay, let's do it.
We're doing this.
So
It's
I'm asking
happening.
my friends. I was like, well, they want us to play middle of the map, but we don't have a band. So do you want to play with us? And they're like, oh yeah. And so yeah, it was that was a stressful 3 months trying to get ready for it. But yeah, I don't even think we ended up. We actually weren't even able to go to the showing of our thing either because we both got sick on that day.
Oh yeah,
The video, yeah, we both got like the stomach flu. So
Oh no.
that was great.
So all of that was kind of like leading up because we were excited about getting our film in it, and then all of this was like leading up to us just wanting to see our film on a big screen, and then couldn't even to see it.
Instead, we're hugging the toilet bowl and
Yeah, a week before we're supposed to play it.
Yeah, yeah.
Show, so we're like freaking out about that too.
So with film, when you're shooting a music video and you kind of go into it with an open mind and with a relatively probably solid game plan, is it kind of like music where you shoot something and you watch the playback and it just when you just know when it's the right take? Or how does that process work? You just do as many as you can and that's all done in post?
Yeah, I think at first it's kind of when we first kind of did it. I mean, a lot of the stuff we did at first was a little bit different. So that clinic music video, I mean, it was kind of, since I think we were kind of new at it, we didn't really know what to do. There was not a lot of acting involved, and it was like, okay, you just sit here and make a face. Will, and
be very docile and stare into the camera. I'm like, okay.
but that's definitely something that we're learning as we go. Yeah, I mean, you try to, I think that's another interesting point because we kind of started doing this saying, oh, we can totally make these videos with 2 people. And I think with a lot of I think you can, but I think that you start to realize why people use crews and stuff like that.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of these early music videos and stuff, I'm the one usually operating the camera and shooting, but she notices things that I would never see because I'm so preoccupied with other things.
Yeah, I have like major OCD, and I'll be like, I was facing this way in this shot, and then the next one I'm facing the other way. Like, we need to redo that.
Yeah,
I notice all
don't-
those little details.
Yeah, I don't notice like the continuity stuff as much, and so. But yeah, I mean, with the last one we did, it was the first one where I think there was like kind of more of acting involved, and yeah, it's tough. I mean, you have a limited time to shoot, and you kind of look back on these. You have to kind of gauge it while you're shooting it, but you kind of look back on your takes, and you have no. I don't have. We just look at it through the camera, like the little screen on the camera, so you don't notice as many things, but. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like, we've gone into the editing room and, definitely had moments where it's like, well, we didn't do that right,
Yeah, I had to go back and redo shots or like come up with something else to replace it because there's just no way we could get that again.
Yeah, but I mean, there is an element to it, and I think when it applies to the recording process too, where it's the force limitation kind of scenario it will bring out more creativity. And if you've ever seen the documentary, I think I can't remember. I'm not good at thinking of the titles. It's the one with like Jack White and
Is it where it starts off and he's building a guitar on a porch?
yeah, I think so. It has like 3 different guitarists. I want to say it's like Jack White. I've only seen it was like an old roommate was watching it one time, and it was called I don't even remember who else was in it. I want to say it was like Jack White and like Jimmy Page maybe was in it too. It was like a bunch of different
guitarist. The Edge from U2 was in it too.
Yeah,
I think that
I might have been making up the Jimmy Page thing. I don't know.
I know what you're talking about though. I don't remember the name of the film, but I do remember
Someone's
watching
gonna be listening to this podcast and just, like screaming out the answers like it's Jeopardy or something.
Yeah. You can tweet at us. We'll put some corrections up.
But the point of the whole thing was Jack White had mentioned something very interesting and something that I've carried on because I think it was the only thing that I really remember from this documentary. Obviously, he said something about how when he's playing live shows, especially with White Stripes, because a lot of the stuff that they do is very simple. It's not very complicated musically. He says to kind of keep himself interested in the creative process, he'll force limitations upon himself. So like when he's playing live, I think he said something about like, he'll have a keyboard that he plays on like one part of a song, but like each show that he played, he kind of like moved it around to different locations, so he never got comfortable to where that keyboard was at. So when he like ran to the keyboard to play it, he had to still like keep his mind working. He wasn't going into like a zombie mode at any
Right,
point.
the muscle memory, yeah.
And so when you're doing stuff like this, where you're very new at it, like we are, like new at making these videos and new at like recording these songs, at least in the process, this way that we've been recording them, there is that aspect to it that's not like we're not forcing those limitations upon ourselves. They're still there. So like, we go into the editing room and like we realize we've completely screwed up an entire shot. Like we didn't do it the way we thought. Well, then you have to be creative about how you incorporate that shot, or you have to edit it in a way that's probably not what you originally intended, but it ends up being cool in its own right. So yeah. And I think once you get to the point where you become better at things and it becomes more routine, then you start having to do the kind of like that force limitation thing. But like I said, I've always kind of like kept that in my head, because I want to always take an approach to, whether it be like the music or movies or anything really, just take that approach where you're kind of doing something for the first time, instead of it becoming like a tired old like routine almost. So.
Sure. Yeah. That's what keeps it interesting, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stand by forever was such a lie.